2-year-old at home and also 5 weeks old. My 2-year-old was born as an elective C-section. We were actually hoping for a natural birth all the way up to about 37 weeks. And at 37 weeks we did an internal scan. The doctor saw that there was actually a bit of placenta that was very, very close to the passageway, which meant that he didn't even want me to go into contractions. As soon as that happened, then it might actually rupture the placenta and there will be a lot of blood loss, etc., etc. So we had to have an elective C-section at 38 weeks. I mean, the C-section experience wasn't bad per se, but it wasn't the sort of natural birth that we're looking for. We didn't get the skin-to-skin contact straight away or the breastfeeding straight away that we wanted. So then for this second birth, we very much wanted a natural birth. Although we didn't really hear about the hypnobirthing method until sort of further into the pregnancy. We spoke to some of my husband's friends, and they were very, very in favour of it. So we started going to hypnobirthing classes with Ginny, which actually gave us a lot more information than we expected, because it was then that we started talking to our doctor. We probably, with Ginny's help, we probably went to him about 3-4 times, grilling him pretty much on our birth plan, making sure that he was very much supportive of the VBAC, because at the beginning when we said we wanted a VBAC, he was like, yes, okay, we'll try. But that was it. We didn't really get that much more information from him in terms of how much he is really going to try. How long is he really going to wait for labour to start? How much is he really going to intervene in between? But then in the end, after a few sessions of grilling, we did decide that we'll go with him. Although, we were very well aware that our doctor was very much on the conservative side, very much typical of a Singaporean gynae, who we later find out also has a 90% C-section rate. But he was, as much as he was conservative, he gave us the comfort that he was willing to try. And also, when we talked about induction augmentation, he very much was against that, because, with VBAC, as soon as you induce augmented, then that pretty much minimises your chance of having a successful VBAC. So he was very, very strongly opinionated on that, which gave us a lot of comfort. So then, in terms of the birth itself, it was a lot more dramatic than we expected it to be. It was because I didn't even go into labour the first time. I very much thought that, this is going to take ages. I think that it's going to be a first birth, all those experience. Labour is going to take a while. That's my husband, Alex. It was actually my 2-year-old's birthday that day, so we decided to go and take her out to go with Bambini to a playground as a birthday treat. And the contractions started then. I didn't actually realise at the time that it was contractions, because I've never felt it before, so I didn't know what it was. I've been feeling crampy all morning, and I texted Ginny and said, I've been feeling a bit crampy, I got a little bit of show. Is this normal? And Ginny was like, yes, it is. Contractions could start, in a few days, in a week even. So I thought, okay, nothing to worry too much about. So then, when we were still out with her, the contractions started. It wasn't until I realised that they were coming at regular intervals, like every 5 minutes, that I realised that they were contractions. And so after about half an hour, I said to my husband, okay, let's just go home. I just want to go and lie down. And that was about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. So I just went straight upstairs and was just resting in bed. And the contractions were still fairly irregular, because Alex was timing me, and they were coming like every 5 minutes, sometimes every 6 minutes, every 10 minutes. So very regular. So it didn't feel like I was very progressing at all. And at this point, we still needed to pap, because were a bit more relaxed this time with the second baby. We hadn't finished packing yet. And
well, Jenny had finished packing, right?
yeah, and there was still like a handful of things to get together. And well, I knew that Alex was a slow packer, so I wanted to wait. You know, I knew we had some time. I thought we had some time. We waited, and then, you know, things were starting to get a bit more intense, but still very irregular. So around 7:30, it was getting intense to the point that I felt that we ought to go to the hospital. But when I got Alex to time me again, even then it was like every 3 minutes, every 7 minutes. And they were getting a bit longer, but they were still irregular. So Alex called Ginny and said, "Oh well, it's getting a bit intense. I think, you know, let's go to the hospital." And we literally just lived down the road from Ginny. So Ginny said, "Okay, you know, why don't you get Jenny into the shower, have a bite to eat, because once you get to the hospital, you won't have a chance to have a shower. You won't be able to eat. So just to get these things done, and then, you know, I'll get in the taxi in 5 minutes and be over." So by that time, I couldn't actually walk. I mean, I could just about roll myself out of bed and crawl slowly to the shower. And I was having my shower on all fours because I couldn't physically stand up. And that was with Alex helping me as well. And by the time we just about got out of the shower when Ginny arrived. And I think by that time we still hadn't quite finished packing.
I don't think you ever did.
And Ginny was like, "Okay, you know, let's get you back into bed, and you know, let's see how you're doing." And literally just as I got back into bed, my water broke. I felt a gush of water, and so Ginny said, "Okay, Alex, if you haven't eaten, you haven't showered yet, have a quick bite to eat, have a quick shower, and let's go." So of course Alex was like slowly having a shower. Ginny going, "Okay, quick bite to eat, quick bite, okay." And I was like, Ginny doesn't know how slow Alex can be, so I'm like, "Alex, I think Ginny really means quickly."
I was very quick. I said to Ginny, "Are you sure I'll have time to eat?" So, "Well, if you're very quick." So I went downstairs, sat down, picked up my knife and fork, and heard this shout from upstairs, and, "Alex, you haven't got time to eat, let's go."
Because at that point, there was a lot of show. So, but then we still weren't sure how quickly the baby was coming, because I think with all the breathing techniques that I'd been doing,
She was so calm.
I was still, I mean, I didn't recognise the time, but I was still fairly relaxed. I was nagging at him, you know, going quickly. I was saying, "Don't forget to pack this, pack that." I was joking with Ginny still about certain things. So then, anyway, so there was a lot of show, and so Ginny said, "Look, we don't know how much time we have, so either we try to do it, have the baby here, in the bedroom now, or we try and get you into hospital." And we're like, "Oh, how much time do you think we have?" And we're like, "Oh, not sure, it could be very quick, you know, you could have time to get to the hospital." And because because it was a VBAC, and because just that day we'd been to a couple of scans, and the doctor was telling us how incredibly big the baby was going to be and how he thought the shoulders were going to get stuck, that I thought, "Okay, well, let's try and get to hospital." So we kind of just, I crawled out of the bedroom. Look at all those stairs I had to go down.
3 stories.
We live in a 3-story house, but we're on the 2nd floor. So I thought, okay. So I mean, I didn't really know how we were going to do it. So in the end, I ended up crawling backwards down the stairs. And I think the crawling backwards down the stairs,
Crawling because the legs are open, you know, and going up and down, so that helps the hips to open.
So by that time, the contractions were coming literally every few seconds. We got to the ground floor, and then I thought, "Oh shit, I've got another set of stairs to go down, because the car is in the basement on the ground floor." So then, you know, we tried to go down again, and we got to the half landing, and that was it. Couldn't go down anymore. The labour was getting so intense, and Ginny was like, "Okay, stop. We can't bring it. You know, you can see the head." So what do you do? So then, you know, we had a spare little mattress that we had from before, so we got that brought down, so it was a bit more comfortable than actually, you know, lying down on a marble floor. So we had that.
You were calling the ambulance, calling the doctor, and doctor saying something like, "Ask Ginny what the number is," or something.
So we tried calling the doctor first, and the doctor, I knew already that our doctor didn't do home birth, so he was like, just get to the hospital, get to the hospital. We're like, we're trying and we can't. So he said, okay, get an ambulance, get her into the ambulance to get to the hospital. So then try calling for the ambulance, and that was a bit panicky as well, and getting that, and then. You know, and it was just all happening very quickly. I think by that stage I wasn't really in a very calm, relaxed, hypnotic state anymore, because I knew I was having to do it, you know, on my staircase. Not on my own, but with support, but you know, with no doctor, nothing.
And my in-laws were there.
And my in-laws were there. So Alex's parents were there. So there was Alex's dad sitting on the stairs next to me, passing me water as I needed. And there was Alex's mum there, so I'm sort of, you know, outside waving the ambulance in when it got here. And so at the time when we were on the staircase, I was actually lying down on my side. And that wasn't really working because it just felt so intense that I was, you know, kicking my legs all the time. And every time I kick or squeeze my legs, the baby would just sort of almost go back in. So then Ginny suggested that we go on all four. And we did. And as soon as we went on all four, it felt like it happened a lot quicker. So my water broke at, I think, 9:10, and baby was out at 10 o'clock. So, you know, and it was just really just pushing with the surges and as you feel it. So it was all very natural. I mean, I've never felt contractions, I've never felt any of this before. So it all just happened instinctively. And
it certainly went a lot quicker after Jenny went on all fours. She was sort of holding on to me like this, so she was in a more upright position.
yeah.
And that's when it really came out a lot more quickly.
So where did you give birth?
On the staircase.
On the staircase, I'm not kidding you, on the half landing.
Oh, they hadn't arrived yet. The ambulance
hadn't
arrived
arrived when you
about
gave
3
birth?
minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I gave, so you know, when the baby came out, I didn't really feel the ring of fire. I felt for a long, I kept thinking, oh, he's almost here. And in the end, when he came out, I didn't feel that because the water that just came out was so warm. It was actually quite comfortable. Funny enough, I know it's a funny thing to say, but because there was warm water that came out, it was actually quite comfortable. And that was actually the part of it that I actually had the most fear and concern. Because part of the reason why I didn't want to, when I wanted natural birth, was I didn't want a tracheotomy as well. And I was really quite frightened of the baby's head and having to have an tracheotomy and a tearing and all that. In the end, you know, I think with the hypnobirthing, breathing techniques, and I also used something called an epino, which helped stretch my perineum. When we did eventually get to the hospital, I only had like a couple of stitches here and there, very little tear, and I recovered so quickly from it. So the baby came out at 10 o'clock. The ambulance arrived maybe 2-3 minutes later. So they got here just in time to help me birth the placenta, got me to the hospital, and then got seen to by the doctor. So
did they cut the cord at your home still? Or?
They cut the cord, yeah, sorry. So they helped me birth the placenta and they cut the cord at home.
And you could hold your baby in the ambulance to the hospital?
Yeah. So I was able, so Ginny passed me the baby straight away as soon as he was born. This is even before the ambulance got here. So I was able
and there
to
was no
hold
doctor
it.
there?
No doctor.
And the
no
thing
doctor,
was,
no midwife. It was just Ginny
me.
and Alex.
and the parents.
And a maid.
And the maid. But yeah, it was just such a huge sense of relief and achievement as well when he came out, all naturally, no drugs, nothing, all on our own as well. And the fact that we didn't have any intervention at all, that was a great feeling. And the fact that we hadn't woken up our 2-year-old, screaming, quite loud, trying to breathe the baby out. So that was quite
From an onlooker's perspective, I was quite surprised when later on Jenny said it actually wasn't an intense, painful sensation. So it was very intense, very irritating, she described it, but not a real sort of sharp pain, because when you're there listening, the sort of screaming you hear, you think that your wife's in extreme pain. It's quite distressing when you're helping her out and it seems like she's in a lot of pain, but actually she said it wasn't really like that.
It was just really, really intense, very uncomfortable, very intense, but not. I wouldn't say it was painful. It wasn't like a knife was cutting through you or anything like that. Just really dull, intense ache that you just wanted to stop and it wouldn't. So you just, I just want to get the baby out.
What was also interesting was because I was following her for prenatal appointments with the doctor, and the doctor was like, "Are you sure you still want to do a VBAC? Because the baby's really big, you could get into shoulder dystocia." So usually, I don't hear these kind of things because I have so many positive VBAC experience. But as the baby's head was coming out, the first thing that came to my mind was shoulder dystocia, and I was saying like, "Shit, you better come on properly," because I wouldn't know how to deal with that because we don't do anything clinical. I was going like, "You baby, you better come on properly, you better come on properly." But this reinforces the kind of support that you get, because you don't know the power of what people actually say to you. And the kind of words that they say to you, it's really very powerful. And I didn't think about it, right? I'm like, I had this doctor keep talking about how big the baby was and blah, 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 and everything like that and stuff. But at the moment when you really need it, all the thoughts just comes out. I personally was even surprised, like, oh my god, what am I thinking about this? So I'm like, oh, erase it. It's going to come out well, it's going to come out properly, it's going to come out properly. So, like, once the head was out, I'm like, hey, just breathe the body out.
And he wasn't big. I mean, he wasn't as big as they said he was going to be. They thought he was between 3.8 and 4.2, but he came out 3.6. So he was still, a fairly good size, but yeah, not as big.
But were all these fears on your mind? Like what Jimmy was saying, what your doctor said, was it?
I think at the time it was just,
I can't do it
in
on
this
myself.
situation you had to do it. I just didn't even have time to think about these things because you're just so focused on the surges and just push, getting the baby out. It didn't have time to think about that. But I mean that's the thing though. I think with me, I was always quite open to not quite having the birth that I wanted. I knew that I wanted a natural birth. I knew that I wanted to avoid a episiotomy as much as possible. I knew that I wanted to avoid an epidural as much as possible. But if it came down to it and I needed it, and I situation came that I was gonna need it, then I was quite happy to just do that as well. So even though, I was prepared for something not perfect happening, for things not to go quite the right way. And because I was prepared for that, I think it helped me also deal with the time when I realised I couldn't have the baby in the hospital.
How long were you in labour for then?
So the contractions started for about 5:30. Real labour probably started around 7:30, 8 o'clock. So probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
And when I went to her house, right, she was on all fours. The moment I came in, she was smiling away because she was like, naked on all fours. So she was still talking normally. But what got me alarmed was when she was, alarmed in a positive way, when she was having a surge. I'm like, okay, this is established labor. But in between, she was still like, and like she said, talking, packing.
Yeah.
So you didn't have any idea how far along you actually were?
No, I didn't. Well, I had no idea at any point at all because no one ever checked me as to how dilated, because we were in hospital, we were just at home.
And your contractions were pretty irregular.
It was pretty irregular. I think what happened when I got onto all four, as soon as I got onto all four, have a shower, and as I was crawling to the bathroom, I think that also helped put the baby in the right position, because all the time when we were doing scans, he was always at the posterior. And you know, I did various exercises. I thought it wasn't as religious as Medina was, but I was doing various exercises to try and turn him. But even on the last scan, he was posterior. And that's why I think that the contractions were so irregular. But then I think when I did go into all fours and crawling to the bathroom, having a shower on all fours, crawling out again, and then going down the stairs, I think he had no chance. I mean, he had to turn and then into the right way. And
I think probably in retrospect what would have alerted us to the fact she was in more established labour than we realised was if we'd ignored the fact that the time between the surgeries was a little bit irregular, but actually the time between the surgeries was still pretty short. They're still coming at fairly short intervals. So that maybe in retrospect was a sign that the labour was quite well established, even though it wasn't totally regular.
So in hindsight, are you happy with the homebirth?
the scars on the back.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm happy it all went well.
And the funny thing was, I said to both Alex and Jean at the time, okay, I think I would like to be, crouching when I'm giving birth. I don't want to be on all fours. I don't want everyone to see my ass while I was giving birth. I was quite adamant. I felt quite strongly about that. And in the end, what position did I actually give birth?
Told you.
I was on all fours. So then, you have certain expectations, but really you have no idea really how you're going to feel at the time. You really just have to go with your instinct and go with the flow.
Well, I think by that stage, falling backwards down the stairs with your knickers down, everyone's seen you like
Yeah, past that. Yeah.
And I think what was also cool makes it very memorable. So both the children share the same birthday. And then for Alex's side, right, they have 4 grandchildren, but only 2 birthdays because the other set are twins. I thought, how cool is that? And the one thing that his father kept saying, because I didn't ride in the ambulance with them, I rode with the parents, and we're talking about it. And the father was actually saying how during his time, which is true, men weren't encouraged to be in the rooms. They weren't allowed. Women gave birth on their own, and he kind of fought his way in to be there to watch the birth of both his children. And who would have thought that he would also watch the birth of his grandchild? So whether that was good for you or not, but very special as a grand.
There's definitely nothing left to say, whatever. I've seen it all now.
We're a very close family, there's no
Now this makes it closer. So yeah, okay. Any questions that you want to ask?
Just a question. Because the first time round when I had my baby, I was actually having mild contraction and straight away went into the hospital.
Yeah.
So does that mean that because after all the hearsay and after all the experiences sharing, does it mean that I should delay as long as I should for my contraction and bear with it before rushing straight to the hospital?
Now, the thing is, if you read childbirth books, right, they always encourage you, especially American books, they always encourage you not to go to the hospital early because when you go in, interventions are very high. So chances of not getting what you want is higher. But in Singapore, it's slightly different. So it depends on who you go to, where you go, etc. Now, if your doctor is supportive, you can go in early because he's not going to do anything anyway. Okay, so that's going to be okay. Yeah. But the key thing here is choosing a supportive doctor. So like when you said your doctor said good luck to you, I mean, the women sitting here, I don't know whether you noticed or not, were like wincing, we're like, huh? What kind of statement is that? Okay, that is a sign. I mean, he's a lovely doctor, I know him. But that is a sign of how supportive he actually is, kind of thing, you see? So if the thing is, you can stay home as long as you want, but if you don't feel safe, you're releasing a lot of adrenaline, and adrenaline will slow down your labor. So if you're the type where you feel safer to be in the hospital, then it's better to go early. But if you go early and your doctor is not supportive, the chances of it ending up in another cesarean will be much higher. So it depends. Yeah.
Yeah, because like for me, I knew I didn't wish for a long labour, so I wanted to labour somewhere where I was feeling really comfortable and relaxed. I didn't want to give birth at home. I wanted to give birth in hospital, but I did also want to labour as much as I can at home, while I was in my own bed, in my own in their own environment where I could just feel really relaxed and comfortable with no nurses, coming in and the music that I wanted. And I mean, you could still have that in the hospital room, but I just felt that I would be more comfortable in my own room.
Any other questions?
What's the ideal time to go to the hospital
There is no ideal, it all depends, you see. So in this case, hers went really quickly, whereas in the other two cases, we made it on time. If you go to the hospital too early, adrenaline increases, the labor slows down. So a lot of the time, second time or more mothers, right, at home they're feeling like, oh, it's so intense, we better go. And then they go to the hospital, they go like, hey, whatever happened to my surgeries? Okay, so part of it is seeing the nature of how the surgeries are progressing. Like in Nadina's case, like one moment she's like, no, it's okay. And then the next moment she instinctively knew, you know what, forget it, let's go straight. Yeah, Yeah, so you kind of have to follow your feeling and see.
So as long as you feel comfortable, it's safe to just stay home first, right? Is it?
By right it is, but hard to say because it all depends on the nature of the surgeries. And because this is not your first pregnancy, it's different. That's why I don't believe in even because you had a cesarean before, the second time around will be like a first pregnancy. It's hard to tell. Yes.
I will mention the waters. Because if you're having contraction and the water didn't break, then you can stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But if the water breaks and then you start having the water, after 24 hours the water breaks,
Yeah.
it's better.
Yeah. And in her case, when her waters broke, I expected it to be fast, but also not that fast because she was still coping really well and everything, you see. But it's only when I saw the show coming out and a lot of show, because that means that the cervix is opening up so the show can be released, you see. So only when I saw lots of show, that's when I did a double take, like, you better come up now, you better go, kind of thing. But if you think about it, her waters broke about 9:10, 9:15, right? She gave birth at 10. That was the amount of time it took us to get from upstairs to downstairs, because she was not able to walk and stuff, yeah. It was a hard call because, I've had quite a fair share of unplanned home birth, so I know what to look out for, and I'm always, not that, I don't think I was panicky, was I? Did you feel I was panicky? Like, okay, whatever, let's just deal with it kind of thing. But it's hard to tell because you can't tell them stay at home. Because what if they can make it to the hospital is something that the parents have to decide. That's why I put out that option because you really can't tell. Sometimes it may seem like it's coming soon, like Adeline, and then it took a bit longer because hers was in posterior. You see, so a lot of unknowns that way. Yeah, so we had to try, and I think it was a good thing that we did. Also, because at least you tried to get them, but hey, it didn't.
Yeah, I think
quite
when we got
work
to
out.
this hospital as well, the doctor the first question he asked was, how long were you in labour for? It almost was like we tried to cheat him out of a birth. So it was good that we said that, look, we did try to come to hospital, we gave birth on the stairway, so we did try and come and, get in the hospital so you could help us get there.
Yeah.
How was he when he got there? And he was like,
He was like sheepish, wasn't he?
I think he was quite disappointed that he didn't get a chance.
Yeah.
Did he charge you for delivery?
God.
I don't even want to go
You
there.
don't even want to know how much he charged us for not being there. It's ridiculous.
So what happened when you went to hospital? I mean, you just stay in hospital or?
Yeah,
was it
so
just for your
we
baby?
got to the hospital and actually took us into the delivery room, or the normal delivery. It was at Mount Eden, a delivery room where my gynae was already there, so he came in and checked me. That's where he gave me some stitches, and then the baby got weighed and just wiped down a bit before he was actually put on me for breastfeeding. And then we're in there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just for him to breastfeed, and then they took us up to the maternity ward. So it was just as if, I had delivered in the delivery room.
And then it went to turn out home.
But the birth place of delivery is your home address, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't put the staircase and then your address.
And then later on, her friend emailed me, right? You know, every time I walk past that staircase, it will bring back memories.
There are doctors who would attend Homebirth.
Yes, they are. But once a VBAC is considered a high-risk case. Yeah,
But
so they
if,
won't.
in that kind of emergency, you could.
Most of them will want you to transfer to hospital. Yeah. Yeah. I
So
would
most
say.
doctors will recommend you waiting that long anyway, right? Because
It's hard to say because hers was so fast. Yeah. So very hard to say. Yeah. Mm.
So you were in labour for less than 2 hours, did you say?
Established labour definitely for less than 2 hours.
But you probably were in labour for a bit longer, but you didn't realise it then.
Well, my contractions started probably about 5:30, but it was, you know, quite far in between. I was like every 5 minutes or so, but it wasn't regular time. It wasn't very intense. It was just like crampy. It didn't really get intense until about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
The shower usually helps. So usually when clients call me, I always recommend they go in the shower, and it's as many times as possible because I find that from experience it does help speed the labor up. Not all the time, but most of the time. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any questions before we call it a session? I hope this was helpful for you and encouraging as well.